It's a pleasure being here this morning. I was writing down some notes last night, some things I wanted to communicate, and we're being educated today, and hopefully the education will motivate us, and then it will activate us. The education's great, we have to have it, but CCV is an action-oriented organization. So we're going to take this information that you're learning today and we're going to turn it into action. Let me tell you a little bit of background before I get into how to plug in and how to impact the state and also the nation. My background is that I was born and raised in a Christian home, fell away from the church for about 25 years. I was addicted to pornography for 25 years, came back to Christ in September 6, 1980. But during that time, I had an interesting road. I ended up driving a semi over the road. I was a union negotiator, a union organizer, and when I accepted this job in 1991 as president of Citizens for Community Values, which was started as a result of the Billy Graham Crusade in 1977. The pastors came together for the crusade. They continued to meet, and they said, you know, we need to put together an organization, and that was the birth of Citizens for Community Values. So when the organization was founded, and then I was involved as a volunteer right from the beginning, and I was actually on part-time in 1988 working with elected officials, getting some feedback. And the thing that the board called me in one day when I first got started, and they said, Phil, we know your background, but you cannot use baseball bats and call people scabs. You know, that's really not good policy for CCV. That's not who we are. And I said, well, what do we do? He said, we pray. Pray? Well, sure enough, it works. You know, CCV has been, I think, somewhat successful in the state of Ohio. Our primary reason that we were birthed was because of pornography. Dr. Jerry Kirk was our founder, and he brought the pastors together. It was the first board was all pastors, and they were addressing the pornography issue because they said pornography was tearing families apart. And this was 1983. Today, it's even worse. So they addressed the issue of pornography in Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati was the home to Larry Flint, okay? And we had strip bars and pornography stores everywhere. And we concentrated on that. We started working with elected officials. If they didn't do their job and enforce the law, then we replaced them. And sure enough, eventually down the road, now Greater Cincinnati is the largest metropolitan area in the United States that has no strip bars. And we know we have no adult bookstores. Now, that doesn't solve the problem because now a lot of this stuff has gone to the web, and pornography is still a serious problem, but at least we don't have the blight of the strip bars and the pornography stores on every corner like we still have. You know, even in Columbus, Ohio, and Cleveland, and in Toledo, you know, there's strip bars just about everywhere. So anyway, we got involved in the issues, and we decided to be active. And one of the things was obviously working with elected officials, but primarily any success that we were going to have, we knew had to come through the pastors and through the church, because that's the basis for any success whatsoever, is getting Christians to take a stand, get up, and do something about their community. We came up with some sayings. You know, one of them was, you know, if you see something and don't do anything about it, then you're part of the problem. If you see something that's wrong and you just turn your head, you become a part of the problem. I'm still getting a little bit of feedback. And so anyway, CCV is, as Pastor mentioned, a family policy council. There's, I think, approximately 40 of us, 40 states, where there's people like CCV in the other states that all work together. And the person who put together these family policy councils was Dr. James Dobson. In 1988, Ohio was the first one to have a family policy council. It wasn't us. And then his right-hand man was Tom Minery. And you're going to be blessed because Tom is here today. And I want to personally thank Tom Minery for the impact that he's had in changing the nation and also changing my life and also changing Ohio, because Tom is the one that came to us and said, we want you to be a family policy council will you join with us and work together? So Tom, let's give Tom a round of applause if you don't mind. Tom has recently, I'm not going to use the word retired because you really don't retire from ministry, but he just stepped down recently from CitizenLink, and you're going to have up on the screen shortly some web pages, but I want you to get your pen and I want you to write down CitizenLink, and I also want you to write down Family Research Council. Those are the two national organizations that you need to get your news from. Don't listen to TV, don't listen to radio, don't listen to what's going on. CitizenLink and, Tom, what's the webpage of CitizenLink? CitizenLink.com. CitizenLink.com, and I think it's frcaction.com or frc.com. But you find those two web pages. They send out daily emails updating you on what's going on at the national level. CCV is a state-based organization. There's 4 web pages that I want you to look at. They'll be going up on the screen shortly. But you need to write those down and get plugged in. And I'll spend a little more time on that lately. But I want to go back and talk about what happened to CCV in 1992. We were addressing the pornography issue. We had been extremely successful in dealing with that. But in 1992, Cincinnati City Council said that they needed to protect people who claimed to be homosexual. So they gave them what we called special rights. They passed a law that said that, they're going to be treated the same as African Americans. And, it just makes no sense, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but, homosexuality is something that you're self-identified. There is no such thing as being born that way. That's all been discounted by experts. And people who have same-sex attractions, it's real. The same-sex attractions are real, but the acting out on that temptation is a choice. But they're not entitled to special privileges or special rights because of who they want to have sex with. So when they passed that law that gave them anti-discrimination privileges, we thought this was wrong. So we collected signatures. We changed the city charter that said you cannot pass any laws based on sexual orientation because it's not protected by the '64 Civil Rights Act. It went to the voters. They voted 62 to 38% to change the city charter. It was upheld twice by the federal courts unanimously that we have the right to do that. Now, this is 1992. Well, this was the first time that we weighed in on this particular issue. I don't have a homophobic bone in my body. I mean, I love everybody, so please understand that. I mean, the fact that I was addicted to pornography for 25 years does not make me a whole lot different than a person who has same-sex attractions, to be quite honest with you. It's just a temptation, okay? And we all deal with temptations. But I love everybody, so I treat these people with respect when I debate them, but I do not believe that they're entitled to special privileges and special rights. They should be treated just like everyone else. They should be treated with respect, but they shouldn't be treated special. So because I got involved in this and met with some people, this was in Colorado. They were dealing with the Romer case, which went to the Supreme Court. But I met a fellow by the name of Mike Gabbard. He was from Hawaii. And in December of 1995, Mike called me and said, "Phil, are you paying attention to what's going on here in Hawaii?" And I said, "No, what are you talking about?" He said, "There's a case before the Hawaii Supreme Court that legalizes same-sex marriage." I have no idea what you're talking about. And he said, "Do you realize that under the full faith and credit clause, that if the Hawaii Supreme Court permits same-sex unions, that all 50 states will have to honor that because of the full faith and credit clause of the Constitution?" Now, what I'm talking about here is a license, okay? The Supreme Court couldn't understand this. We're talking about a license. For example, your driver's license. Your driver's license is honored in all 50 states. That's because no state has a strong public policy against honoring your driver's license. And then another example is, let's say you have a hunter's license. You can't go to any state with that hunter's license because they have a strong public policy against honoring or concealed carry. You can't take your concealed carry anywhere. So when you have a license, You just cannot go to any other state. But because we didn't have a strong public policy about same-sex unions, you would have to accept those licenses. So on January 18th of 1996, we brought together about 20 people in the basement of a Baptist church in Memphis, Tennessee. And we said, we have to address this issue dealing with same-sex unions. Well, think about what's happened. We went out, we said the first thing we need to do is pass the Defense of Marriage Act. We did that in 38 states with everyone, all the pro-family groups, all the family policy councils, everyone working together. It was legislation that said marriage is one man and one, strong public policy. Then we realized that the courts were going to strike that down. So we went back and we said, okay, let's change the constitution of each state. Now, realize this is huge. 31 states passed a state constitution that says marriage is one man and one woman. Over 51 million people voted by almost 60% margin that marriage is one man and one woman. So they go to the Supreme Court, and look what happens. By a 5-4 majority, they don't care about the voice of 51 million people. They don't care about the 31 state constitutions, and they strike it down. Well, Justice Scalia was one of my heroes and probably one of yours. If you have not read his dissent in this case, you should. Just leave it there. It's in one of our publications, and when you get the web pages I'm going to give you, then we will send you our newsletter and keep you up to date on what's going on. We published the dissent of all 4 justices, but Justice Scalia was absolutely outraged over this. And even Justice Roberts said this had nothing to do with the Constitution whatsoever. These are 5 justices just making up legislation and forcing it down the throat of the people. That's where we're at today. Do you realize that today's U.S. Supreme Court, 9 justices, 8 of them are from the East Coast or the West Coast? There's only 1 from the Midwest. Only 1. Do you know that there's not one evangelical Protestant on the Supreme Court? Not one. There's 6 Catholics, 3 Jewish people. The Supreme Court, I don't know why, but even Governor Kasich here recently in a debate said the Supreme Court has ruled, let's move on. Where's the statesmen? Where's the men and women that will stand up and say you're wrong? All you do is render opinions. You do not make law, and they need to ignore it the same way they did in Dred Scott and tell them, we are not honoring your decision. Where are they? There's only one person in the final 4 or 5 of the presidents that are taking a stand, and that's Ted Cruz, who wants to take on the Supreme Court and tell them, you're wrong, and I'm not going to honor this. This is a bad decision. But instead, we have politicians running to hide behind the Supreme Court, and it's got to stop. This is supposed to be a 3-part system, not the Supreme Court runs everything. But if we have one more, if Justice Scalia is replaced with another liberal, and they have a 5 majority, you can kiss all your rights goodbye. I am not exaggerating, folks. That's how serious we are. That's how bad it's getting right now, because they will do anything they want, and we will have politicians who will just say, the Supreme Court has ruled, this is what we have to do. That's what's at stake. So this is why I'm up here, to challenge you to get activated. Be educated, know what the issues are, read the emails, stay plugged in, but we have to be involved. Going to church on Sunday, and I know I'm not talking to you, but going to church on Sundays, and then not paying any attention to what's going on through the week until the following Sunday has to stop. We have to be engaged. CCV is here to fight the good fight. That's what we're here for. And the web page is here. Let me go through each one of those with you. ccv.org is our 501c3 organization. That's our nonprofit educational organization. That's where we do voter registration, voter information, get out to vote, vote your values. For example, in 2012, CCV bought an RV, thanks to money that was contributed to us through Tom Minery, and we personally visited 2,200 churches in the state of Ohio. We drove 14,000 miles, and we gave each church $25 worth of material, voter registration, education, videotapes, and things to get people out to vote in 2012. What happened in 2012 was quite remarkable. People say Christians did not show up to vote. They did. We tied, according to the Pew Research, we tied a record turnout in Ohio of evangelical value voters that was set in 2004 because of the marriage amendment. So what happened? Look at the numbers. 144,100 people went to the polls and voted and did not like either Romney or Obama and did not vote for either one of them. That's what happened. I had the honor of introducing Ted Cruz last Sunday in Columbus, and I said to the crowd, I said, you know, this is the first time that I have really been excited about a candidate. Okay, I'm speaking personally now. I am really excited. Since 2004, and I was excited then because of the marriage amendment, which ended up, if you remember, the marriage amendment, according to many of the newspapers, said the marriage amendment is what brought you out to vote, and you ended up making the difference and ended up pushing Bush over the top, or else we would have had John Kerry as president. So when we get involved, you know, and we speak truth, and it makes a difference. You know, of the 88 counties in Ohio, anywhere between 74 to 76 counties are deep red. If they show up to vote, now I'm talking about rural Ohio, where we took our RV. If you show up to vote, if rural Ohio shows up to vote, Christians will win every time. But the problem with it is that we have candidates we cannot get excited about, and we just sit at home. We still have to be engaged. We still have to be registered to vote, and we still have to vote. So CCV is the primary organization where we do the 501c3 nonprofit work. OhioElectionCentral.com. How many people have heard about OhioElectionCentral.com? Okay, not many hands. Write this down. We invested north of $20,000 into this in the last election on March 15th. This is your best voter guide in the state of Ohio. You will be able to go on, it'll be in June, it'll also be in November, every election. Every year, we send a postcard to everyone who's running for elected office in the state of Ohio, all 88 counties. And the postcard says, if you're seeking our endorsement, go to the web page, download our questionnaire, send it in, and we have an endorsement team that looks at that. And if you meet the qualifications, then we endorse you. This is critical because people sometimes don't go to the polls because they don't know the candidates. Well, it's our job to educate the body of Christ. And that's what we've been doing now for almost a decade and a half through this website, OhioElectionCentral.com. We've done the work for you. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. Now, we will also, when you go there, there's two levels to this webpage. One is the county. You'll go in there, at the local level, you'll click on your county, and you will see the people that filled out the questionnaire and was endorsed by us in your county. We will also show you who not to vote for, who's unacceptable for public office. How do they get that rating? We have 3 non-negotiable issues: life, marriage, and religious freedom. If we can prove that you're wrong on any of those, you will get unacceptable for public office on our webpage. So we help you with that. On the other side of this, at the national level, we're working with a firm out of Texas, and they do incredible deep research. If you really want to get in to find out who the candidates are, they will tell you who's given them money, who has endorsed them. It gives you all their background at this webpage. I mean, you need to go there and you need to study this, because if you're not voting, or what's even worse is to go to the polls and vote, and you're not sure who the people are. Okay? We have to, this is work. We really have to spend more time. It's not just, Bob McEwen last night talked about the fact that, you know, half of the evangelical value voters are not even registered to vote. And I think the vast reason for that is because they don't know who to vote for. But somebody has to do this homework, and we're here to do that for you. So that's OhioElectionCentral.com. At every election, you can go there, and you will find information that we will work for you. Awake88.org. This is for pastors. This is for pastors. Awake88.org, that's your webpage. A firm out of California came to us and said, we want to help you. And their name's not even, it doesn't show up anywhere, but they've put tens of thousands of dollars into this webpage to perfect it. It's not a secret. Every church that has gone in there and signed up, you can even pull up a map of Ohio, and you can see all the churches that have signed up with this. You receive special emails, special mailings, special attention from awake88.org. That's for pastors. ccvaction.org is what's called our political. Okay, you might think that Ohio Election Central is that, but CCV Action also does the same. It's our C4 under which the Ohio Election Central works, but that's our C4, which is not tax deductible. If you want information from ccvaction.org, you have to join. And if you can afford it, it costs you $1. Okay? Go to the webpage, ccvaction.org, and join. I urge you to give a little bit more than that, if you can, but we cannot communicate with you unless you join CCV, the C4. We cannot use the C3 and the C4 are not interchangeable. The IRS regulations are pretty stiff on us as nonprofit organizations that's also doing political work. So in our office, we have to keep track and document everything we do so that we don't get into trouble. So anyway, that's pretty much what it's about. That's what we're here for. The education that you're going to hear for the rest of the day is wonderful, but it should motivate you. Education, motivation, activation. We're the activations part. So write down these websites, get plugged in, go to ccv.org. The least you can do is go to ccv.org and sign up for our emails so that you will receive our emails. Those are 3 emails that it doesn't cost you a penny, not a penny. But you go to citizenlink.org, you go to frcaction.org, and you go to ccv.org and sign up for these emails because the information there is incredible and it will help you as you move forward and we change America together. We're in this mess today because people have turned their backs on God. We understand the issue. We also understand that politics is not the reason and not how we're going to get out of this mess. We understand that. When people turn their face back toward God and they accept him as their Lord and Savior, that will change everything. But in the meantime, this is something that we can do to make a difference.